Children, in this video we will discuss the another reproductive system, that is female reproductive system. This reproductive system produces the female gamete named as ovum or egg. Likewise, male reproductive system, female reproductive system is also consists of primary sex organs and secondary or accessory sex organs. Primary sex organs in the female reproductive system are ovaries. Why they are referred as primary? Because those will produce the female gamete, that is egg or ovum, as well as they secrete the female sex hormones, that is progesterone and estrogen, which are collectively known as estrogens. So these are the sex hormones which are released by the ovaries. Regarding the other part, we'll just draw the diagram of female reproductive system and then we'll discuss them one by one. In female reproductive system, the various parts includes uterus, an opening named as vagina, primary sex organs, that is ovaries, a tubular part that is known as fallopian tube. That's the diagram of female reproductive system. In the abdominal region, on the left and the right side, a pair of ovaries are present. These are ovaries. Ovaries are primary sex organs. Why they are referred as primary sex organs? Because they produce female gamete that is named as ovum. In a female, in premature form, ovums are already present, and then they will mature in a cycle of few days that we'll study later on. That is the predetermined case of ovum. The predefined number of ovum in the immature form are present in the ovaries by birth. Next, they also secrete female sex hormones, that is progesterone and estrogen, which are responsible for secondary sexual characters in females. The secondary sexual characters are the characters which appear in a female during puberty, that is the growth of breasts, production of milk in the mammary glands during pregnancy, that is the secondary sexual character. The hair growth in the pubic and the armpit region increases. The fine hair growth in the facial and the hands or on the arms will start to become more in the case of puberty. That is because of these sex hormones. The fat deposition in thigh and hip region is also increased in puberty due to these hormones. So these are secondary sexual characters of females. For that, the ovaries are responsible as well. These ovaries are attached by the help of a ligament which is known as ovarian ligament. That ligament by which the ovaries are attached to the wall of uterus, that ligament is known as ovarian ligament. Then there is a fallopian tube. This fallopian tube has a finger-like projections. These finger-like projections are known as a fimbriae. These are referred as fimbriae. What is the role of these finger-like fimbriae? These fimbriae will, catch the ovum from the ovaries. It will receive the ovum from ovaries and helps the ovum to move inside this duct. This duct is known as oviduct, which has 4 parts. The first one is this cap-like structure, infundibulum. The second one is ampulla, The third one is isthmus, and this part, this swollen part, which is more towards the uterus, is known as fundus. The uterine part. So these are the four parts of the fallopian tube, which is also known as oviduct. This ampulla is the site of fertilization. This is the site where fertilization of sperm and ovum takes place to produce zygote. It's a very, very important question for your board exam, that what is the site of the fertilization, where the fusion of male and female gamete, that is sperm and ovum, takes place to produce zygote. That site is named as ampulla. Or you can write in class 10th oviduct only, or fallopian tube. This oviduct is also known as fallopian tube. Next part is uterus. Uterus is known as mother's womb. Uterus is the part where fetus develops. What is fetus? The developing baby in the mother's womb is known as fetus. What is a common misconception in students' life, or in our life, that child grows in stomach? No, that is one of the most common misconception. The child never grows in stomach, bache. That will grow in a separate part of the female reproductive system, and that is referred as uterus or mother's womb. This uterus has three walls. It has triple layered wall. The outer one, this one, is known as perimetrium. The outer layer is known as perimetrium. It has certain middle layer. That middle layer is known as myometrium. And then it has a thick inner layer with folds. That inner layer is referred as endometrium. So these three layers constitutes the uterine wall. When the egg is released from the ovaries into the fallopian tube, this endometrium will start to thicken. ये endometrium thick होने लगती है बच्चे. किस लिए thick होने लगती है? Whensoever an egg is released, the ovary will prepare itself. The female reproductive will prepare itself for fertilization. The egg will start to release in a female at the age of 11 to 12 years. But at the 11 or 12 years of age, a female will not be a mother. The fertilization does not take place in a female. So what happens, bache? This endometrium will shred off along with the blood vessels, and that will referred as menstrual cycle or menstruation. In common language, we call it periods. So that is the menstruation or menstrual flow. Why that occurs? Because of this endometrium. This endometrium shred off and comes along with the blood vessels out of the female reproductive tract through this opening named as vagina, that we will discuss. So that's the endometrium will shut off. If fertilization takes place, if a female is married or wants to get the baby, then whensoever the sperm enters, that sperm will go there, as sperm can move on its own, and ovum will fertilize in this part, that is ampulla. Then zygote will start to move and will embed in this wall. Zygote आएगा बच्चे, divide करना शुरू करेगा. At a 64 cell stage, which is known as an embryo, usually it will stuck. It will embed into this endometrium. Otherwise, after every 28 days, this endometrium will shred off and come out of the female's reproductive tract in the form of menstrual flow. Next part is this is cervix. It is also known as cervical opening. This is the connection between uterus and vagina. This part is known as vagina. What is the function of vagina? Vagina receives the sperm. It receives the semen. It is the part where copulation or intercourse takes place by the male, and then release of semen takes place. From this part, the sperm which is present in that semen will move towards the fertilization point, that is ampulla. This vagina has a structure over it which is known as hymen, and it has an orifice which is known as vaginal orifice. One more thing, bache. In males, we have discussed that one system is there for the expulsion of urine as well as for the semen, but in female, the female reproductive tract is not related or not connected to the urinary bladder. So, in females, only one system is related, one system is there, that is the reproductive system, which receives the sperm as well as the fertilization takes place. Also, the ovaries release the female sex hormones into the blood, which will go to the various target organs. There are various site-specific organs on which they act, and secondary sexual characters appears or develop in a female. So that is the female reproductive system, which generates ova, which has various parts. The red ones and the blue ones you may leave bache, as they are not included in your class 10 syllabus. The black ones are very, very important. Do this diagram, practice this diagram again and again. It is very important diagram for your board exam. So that is all for the reproductive system of a female in human beings.